Well, as she said, I'm Jeanette Larson. I'm the craft director at the Ozark Folk Center State Park. How many of you have been to the Ozark Folk Center? Oh, good. So the last group I spoke to, only about half of them had been. But we're in Mountain View, Arkansas, and it's just about 3 hours from here. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take this morning, so I was worried about it. So we got up at 5 o'clock and got on the road, and I got here bright and early. So it really isn't that far. It's a nice day trip, and we have 3 different legs of our milking stool, I like to think of it. So we have the Heritage Herb Gardens, and we have a wonderful herb garden staff there. The gardens wind throughout the village and throughout the park. We have a great big greenhouse down at the bottom part of the park, and they do incredible programs throughout the year. You have calendars of events on your tables, and please take one with you. If you want to take one for a friend, I've got plenty. But we have a medicinal herb workshop coming up May 4th and 5th, and we have people coming from just throughout the country this year. Tina Marie Wilcox is our chief herbalist, and she has brought in people from all over the world. We had a lady come from Kenya a year or 2 ago. We've had people from Canada. We have speakers from all over the U.S. coming to this workshop. The Friday field trip is sold out already, but the Saturday workshop is still open, and I believe there's a discount on registration up until April 28th. So you might want to go ahead and check into that if you're into gardening. It is an amazing program. So the other part is the music. Some of you talked about, Leslie mentioned Ozark Highlands Radio. You can get it on the radio here in Rogers. You can also go to ozarkhighlandsradio.com. That's what we were listening to as you all came in, and listen to it on the web. So they have a listing there of the radio stations. It's a wonderful program. Of course, I loved Prairie Home Companion. so coming to it from that perspective, one of the things I love about Ozark Highlands Radio is they bring in young groups who play Americana-style music. And again, they're from all over, but they play the style of music that is rooted here in the Ozarks. And fun music, and then they get guest hosts like Dr. Brooks Blevins from University of Missouri, and they do programs about the Ozarks and what makes this area so special. So we were just listening to one of Dr. Brooks Blevins' third program about Dog Pads USA. So he does wonderful programs. Charlie Sandage is another guest host, and he does really great programs. And then Dave Smith and Mark Jones do a From the Vault series. And so they go down and they dig into our music archives. And the Ozark Folk Center State Park has been a park since 1973, but it took more than a decade to get it together to make it happen. So they started in 1961, a group of people who really wanted to perpetuate the music and the crafts of the area, coming up with a way to do it. And they went and they lobbied in Washington, they got Wilbur Mills to back them, they got all kinds of programs going, and they got the Ozark Folk Center built. So it became a state park and opened in 1973. So we've been going ever since then. So the music shows, if you're interested in evening shows and you want to come see live shows, we have music shows every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. So, and then there's my part of the park, the craft village. So that's my passion. I'm a spinner and a weaver. I've been a fiber artist since I was 8 years old. My grandma taught me to crochet. It's rare that I've not had a crochet hook in my hand since then. In fact, I was laughing on the way up here because I did bring my computer and I brought some work to do. But we're going to spend the night up here with a good family friend. Thank you, Kathy. and so, and I went, oh no, I didn't bring my crochet bag. And then I laughed because I brought yarn that I've spun and dyed, and I always have a crochet hook in my purse, and I'm spinning yarn, so I will always have crochet with me. But the Craft Village is amazing. It is really, there were many things that drew me to Arkansas. I moved here 11 years ago. But the Craft Village at the Ozark Folk Center State Park is a big part of what drew me here. And I came here as a crafter, as a spinner and a weaver. We have 22 shops in the Craft Village. And it's different than any place you're going to find, I can't say in the world, but I pretty much can say in the U.S. because I've traveled a lot. I did the show circuit for quite a while, so I've done craft shows from all the way up the East Coast, all the way over to Utah. Haven't done the West Coast, and I love history, and so I stop in historic villages, and I stop in, things that are similar, but there is nothing like the Ozark Folk Center State Park. One of the things that makes it different is our craftspeople have their little shops in the village, and those of you who've been there know the park was originally designed to be a school to teach the crafts and music. So we have these interesting little 6- and 8-sided buildings that are the craft workshops. And a different craft is in each shop. And the crafters have their shops. They're under contract for a year. So many of them stay there for a long time. Our pottery family has been there for, well, I was going to say 22 years, but I think that was a couple of years ago that it was 22. So they've been there a long time. So they have a wonderful complex there. I love to talk about what they do. Judy Munn came to be an apprentice with one of our original potters. She had just graduated from college, gone to Paraguay in the Peace Corps, come back, tried to teach, decided she didn't like teaching. She came to the Ozark Folk Center to be an apprentice. And we still take apprentices to this day. So she apprenticed with David and Becky Dahlstead for 2 years. And then David and Becky moved into town and they set up their own studio, and they're still very active parts of the community. But Judy and then her husband John, who was the broom maker at the time, but he's now another potter, so they started really working on the pottery complex in there. And I love what they do because they got an Arkansas Heritage Grant to build a wood-fired groundhog kiln. So they built this wood-fired groundhog kiln, which is a very traditional kiln for making pottery in the Ozarks. And so they do a wood firing at this point every other year because this is a huge kiln. And our wood firing starts next Wednesday, and they will take a day or two to fill up that kiln, to move pottery in, to layer the shelves, to get all the pots stacked on there. They have potters come from around, well, mostly around the region, who bring their pottery. They just save up their pottery for this firing. And they take shelves, and so they get this whole big kiln filled up. And it's huge. It's the length of these 2 tables, and I can stand up in it. So they fill this kiln up with pottery. It takes them a couple days, and then they start firing, and it's wood fired. So they build a fire, and the fire goes in the front. After they brick the kiln up, the fire goes in the front, and they get it stoked up and they get it going good. Then they have to feed it every 20 minutes for about 27 hours. So it's not something you do by yourself. It's something that takes a whole team. But like many crafts in the Ozarks, it becomes a community effort, and it becomes kind of a party. Musicians come, they play. Everybody brings food. You'll come out there and check on, see how things are going at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they'll be playing banjo and just having a good old time. So that is the Groundhog Kiln wood firing. If any of you want to come help stoke, we're always happy to have stokers. So, and they have a kiln opening party. After they use these instruments to look in the side of the kiln to check the heat. I guess it gets up to about 2,800 degrees. Don't quote me on that, I'm not a potter. But so, and then they check the temperature. They have to hold it at that temperature for a certain amount of time. And then once that's all done, they let it cool down. And then they have this 24 to 36 hour cooling down period where all the potters go sleep. And then Saturday, we have a kiln opening party. And they start fairly early in the morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning, and they take the bricks down off the front and they start pulling the pottery out of the kiln. So if you want to come up on Saturday the 21st, that would be a great day to come to the park. Great day for several reasons. Not only the kiln opening party, but we also have folk festival going on in Mountain View that weekend, so it's a fun time to be in Mountain View. And it is our Craft Village open house. So those are not this coming, but the next Friday and Saturday, the 20th and the 21st. Those are the 2 days that we're actually open free. So you can come into the Craft Village and see what we've got going on if you want to just come check it out. So any other time, tickets are only $12 for adults. And if you want to get a combo ticket for the day in the Craft Village and the evening show, it's $19.50 for adults. So, and the rest of the ticket prices are in the little book on your table. So, other shops, I said we have 22 shops in the village. So, and they're all, it's not just, every one of the crafters spends their day, Tuesday through Saturday, and they work from 10 to 5, working on their craft. So they're in there making and demonstrating and talking with people and selling their pieces. So this is how they make their living. So like Janice in the leather shop, she's been doing this for a good many years, and she makes a lot of these. So, yeah, fly swatters. So, as a craftsperson, they make sense, you know, because you've got to have something that just anybody who's interested can pick up. Also, these are pretty. So you can hang these in your kitchen. I actually have one. You can hang these in your kitchen. You're not embarrassed by them because they're pretty. And they just obliterate flies. But she does a lot of much more detailed work. This is a reindeer hide purse, which I went into her shop. I said, Janice, what can I take? She said, well, this or this, or she does things like this pillow too. So her shop, to me, when I go in, it's very much like a boutique, but it's all her work, just like every shop there. Everything in that shop is made by the craftspeople in the shop. So it's not always just one shop. And John and Judy are our potters. They have the shop to themselves. Their son just went off to college, and he's going to be a musician. But he doesn't want to be a potter. And Janice has the shop to herself, but she just took an apprentice. This spring break, we did Craft Roots, which is a spring break program we do with kids. And so they come in and they take a different craft class in the morning and then a different one in the afternoon. And so they do leather and pottery and blacksmithing, and it's a great program. And I've had a lot of people say, well, I'm not a kid, but can I do it? The only thing that we have like that for adults is we do have an Arkansas Extension Homemakers event in November. And I just learned that you don't have to be an EHC member to come and take those classes, but those classes are set up that way. So you can check into it through your local extension agent if you're interested in that. But The Craft Roots program is for young people, both the little 7 to 11-year-olds and then the 12 to 17-year-olds. And in Janice's class, she had a young lady named Olivia who is talking with her and going to become apprentice this summer. And so we take apprentices, like I said. A lot of our apprentices are retirees looking for a second career, and they want to come learn how to make soap, they want to learn how to make brooms, they want to learn, and then they work in the park, and it works out well for them. So, but some of our apprentices are teenagers, and some of them, you know, we had a young man who came to drive our donkeys. We have a picnic swing, and it's donkey powered. It's a wonderful, it was made after an actual picnic swing that used to be in the Ozarks. And we've got a picture of the old one. And it's like an old carousel. And it's pulled by, ours is pulled by donkeys. The one in the picture was pulled by a mule. And so they set it up, and people can ride on it. And it was great for courting, because two people sat on the swing and they could sit next to each other. So it was a courting swing, sometimes called. So it used to be 10 cents a ride, and if you played music, you got to ride for free. So nowadays you can ride with your Craft Village ticket, and we have a lot of people of all ages who love to ride on the picnic swing. So Whiskey and Tanger is 2 donkeys. So we had a young man who came in to drive the picnic swing a couple years ago, and it was a summer job for him. He really enjoyed knife making, and he apprenticed with the knife maker, and actually ended up going to Korea to study sword making after he apprenticed with the knife maker, and he's since moved on from the park. But that's a lot of the kind of thing that our park does. So we've had a young lady who was in medical school, and she just needed to chill for a summer. So she had taken a lot of pottery classes. Our potters require that you have 2 years of college pottery before you can take a class with them. But she just loved pottery, so she came and apprenticed with them for a summer. And now she's an epidemiologist. But she still comes back, and when she just needs to ground out, she comes back and works in the pottery shop. So you're never sure who you're going to find in the shops, but you will find people who love the crafts and do the crafts. Another apprentice story that I love, this little chair right here. So Terry Andrews was a long-time Homeland Security. He worked for Border Patrol, that's what I'm looking for. He worked for the Border Patrol for many years and retired from the Border Patrol. He just loved working with his hands. So, and he was getting kind of bored. And I get probably 3 calls a week at the park. You know, do you have somebody who can cane chairs? Do you have somebody who can repair chairs? So I said, Terry, you want to learn how to cane chairs? So we have a great friends group called the Committee 100 for the Ozark Folk Center State Park. They do many, many incredible things. They fund our Music Roots program, which provides instruments for all the kids in the schools. And if you listen to Ozark Highlands Radio, you'll probably hear some Music Roots. But these young people, 4th grade on up, the Committee 100 helps fund this, and they provide the instruments. The Mountain View Bluegrass Association also helps fund it, and Arkansas State Parks does. So, but, and we have teachers who go into the schools and teach in the schools any kid that wants to learn string band music. So the instruments are provided and the teachers are provided. Some of those young people go on to perform professionally. So they've performed in Nashville, and a lot of them have performed in Branson. They're really, really talented and really, it's a great program. And of course, a lot of young people, you know, it's just something for them to do, and they don't want to keep doing it. So it, I heard somebody say when I was sitting out there one day, isn't it awful that they force all these kids to play music? We don't force anybody to play music. They do it because they love it. And if they don't love it, of course, they don't keep up with it. It's the same with the crafts. You've got to do it because you love it. It's repetitive. Somebody said last weekend, it's meditative. Well, yeah, it is that, but you've got to do it because you love it. So Terry said he'd be interested in studying how to cane chairs. So I went to the Committee 100 and asked them for a scholarship to send him to a teacher to learn how to cane chairs. And so he went and studied with Georgia McNabb in Little Rock. And this is what he was playing around with before he went and studied with Georgia. If you're interested in chair caning, I've got his card here. He is working on this incredible rocker right now that he's refinished the seat, and it's got a curved back. Have any of you ever caned chairs? No, okay. It's hard to do, and that curved back and to get that lacing, it's really, really challenging. And that's what he's working on, and that's the level of skill that he has developed since taking a class. And that's partly because he's there we opened April 17th this year, we closed November 10th. So 5 days a week, working on a craft. And that's how you achieve a level of mastery, is doing it over and over and over again. And as you do it more and more, you come up with different ways to do it. You come up with different things that you like doing. You develop your own style. And then you come to a point where you want to pass on your work. And that's one thing that the park is really great about. So, Skip and Rachel Matthews are our copper flame painters. Some of you have probably seen them up in Branson. They've been around, and they've been doing this for quite a while. Skip is known as the father of copper flame painting. He's the person who actually took the time to make 10,000 copper butterflies and figure out exactly how to get the color that you want. And his wife Rachel is really good at writing things down. So between the two of them, they have developed the method to get these beautiful colors and to do the copper flame painting. Now they're in the phase of their life and of their craft where they're passing on their legacy and they are teaching people. They set up classes very frequently. People call in. One of the things that I texted about this morning was we have 2 people who want to come take a class with them, and they've approved them. They have to approve every student because you have to be able to solder and you have to be able to hold a torch steady. So they have to approve every student. But they teach a lot of students. And that's one great thing that we have at our park, is if you're interested in studying a craft like broom making, which is a hard craft to find somebody to teach, our broom makers at the park, there is a national craft broom festival in Arcola, Illinois. And out of the last 6 years, our broom makers have taken national championship 5 times. So if you want to learn how to make brooms, you can call the park, give us a little bit of time, and we can probably set up a class with one of the broom makers. So, or the copper flame painters, or the basket weaver, or our chandler. So, our chandler, I brought these tapers because they're pretty. So, but in part because she wasn't in the park when I was gathering this up. Her real passion and skill is beeswax tapers. And she does the most amazing work with beeswax, and she uses totally local beeswax. She gets the raw beeswax from the farmers, and she filters it and she turns it into this beautiful, creamy, liturgical quality beeswax. She makes incredible candles, and she teaches. So some of our most popular classes and most popular products, this is insect repellent. This is from the Village Apothecary. And Linda Odom teaches classes throughout the year. Now, she only teaches scheduled classes, so her classes are in the book. But she teaches Apothecary 101 and soap making, and her classes fill very fast. But she does, she comes up not just with soap. I mean, you hear soap making in Ozark Folk Center and you think the old granny woman with the pot and the old lye soap. Well, what she makes is lye soap, but she does the cold process method so that she can add scents and add different materials to it. This is her gardener's soap. It's lavender, lemon, and cornmeal. So it gets your hands nice and clean, and the cornmeal makes your hands nice and soft after you've been working in the garden. And I actually use this one. So I have a list of her classes here. So, and a lot of people wonder what an apothecary shop is. Well, the apothecary, she takes the herbs from the Heritage Herb Garden, and she works with the herbalist, and she's a talented herbalist at this point herself, and comes up with things like the survival pack here, which is headache relief and de-stress. So, they didn't have doctors in the old days. They had granny women, and they had, the old guy, the barber, and they had sometimes they had a little apothecary shop, and that's where Linda fits in. So, of course, we have a fantastic jeweler. And this is one of the things that I like. Linda's work is just gorgeous. She was a wood carver. Her husband was a nationally known wood carver. In fact, he has a piece that's very famous that was in Jimmy Carter's collection. It's an eagle. Some of you might even remember it, but it's a very famous piece. She did little meticulous pieces, very, very beautiful wood carvings. Now, as they got older, it's harder for their hands to work. So the wood carving they don't do wood carving anymore. One of the last bits of wood carving that Charles did was he carved a bunch of, I want to say molds, but for pouring, he does, what is it?
Christmas decoration.
Yeah, Christmas ornaments. They're beautiful silk casting. He did the wooden molds for the casting, and he does metal castings now, and then makes beautiful Christmas ornaments and other castings. So he carved those molds. Linda kind of transferred her skill into this incredible wire wrap jewelry that she does now. So it's easier on her hands. As I like to tell people, if you like a crafter's work, and you all know this, I mean, you're looking at the crafter has a limited lifetime. But it's not only a limited lifetime, it's a limited ability to do your skill. So your hands are going to give out. You're not going to be able to, Judy's not always going to be able to stand at the wheel doing her pottery. So it's not a sales pitch, but if you like somebody's crafts enough that they really catch you and you come back to them, it's a good thing at our park because you can go buy them right there from the person who made them. And people love to make that connection. But it's not all serious stuff either. So, it's a roly skunk. I just love this little roly skunk. So, my friend Summer retired from a career in IT, and she now makes wooden toys. And she makes the most incredible, whimsical wooden toys, and she has so much fun. And she and her husband they're round, jolly people, and he's got white hair and this big white beard, and they make toys for a living. So, so of course I tell everybody this is where Santa Claus spends his summers. Well, I like to talk, and I am happy to talk to you about anything in the park. But I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor for questions, if you have any questions. Or if anybody needs to stretch their legs and you want to come up and see something, you're welcome to come on up and just visit personally.
Are there accommodations and food available in the park?
We do. Thank you for asking that. We have the Skillet restaurant, and the Skillet is a wonderful place for just good American cooking. And they were voted by CNN as one of the top 10 places in the United States to eat Thanksgiving dinner. So, and 2 years in a row, they've won the Top Chef competition for Arkansas State Parks. So, it is good food, and well worth coming up just to eat at the Skillet. And then we have the cabins at Dry Creek, and they're duplex cabins. Each cabin has 2 rooms, 2 private rooms. Each room has its own private bathroom, and each room has 2 queen beds in it. And they have a TV and a refrigerator. No microwave, but but yeah, that's the cabins at Dry Creek, and you can go to our website, which is www, of course, ozarkfolkcenter.com, and you can book your cabins there. You can find out more about the park. You can, on the About the Crafts page, there are links to some of the craftspeople's websites, and it talks about every craft shop and what they do. So, and then on the music page, there's all of our featured concerts. And the featured concerts, I do have a list of featured concerts here. It's not pretty, but anybody's welcome to it. They're not in that pretty book because we book those later after that comes out, but they are on the website. So, and that website's updated frequently, so you can go and find out what's going on. So, okay, thank you.
How far is Mountain View from here?
It's 3 hours. It took us 3 hours this morning. I was afraid it was a lot longer, so, but it just took us 3 hours. So, yes.
At the shops, do you also sell the supplies for people who, or do you just sell the finished products?
A lot of people sell the supplies. So, well, like if you want to get interested in spinning, they've got a drop spindle learn to spin kit here. Our whittler sells wood carving supplies. So it's not a complete list of supplies, but a lot of our craftspeople do have the supplies. So. And if they don't have them, they can generally tell you where to get them. So, because we live in Mountain View, and one of the things that makes our culture unique is even to this day, it's kind of hard to get there, and it takes us, I mean, it's only 3 hours, but some of the roads are going to be like this. So, yep. And so we have a Walmart, but we don't have a Hobby Lobby. We don't have a, we don't have a Lowe's. We don't have a lot of the stores that you guys take for granted. So we're all pretty good at using the internet to do our shopping. So if they don't carry the supplies, they can tell you where to get them online. So, okay. Anything else? Yes.
I don't want to monopolize, but anyway, the performers, are they professionals? Are they amateurs? Or,
They are professionals. Some of them are very young. Mary Parker is one who performs fairly frequently. She's 11 years old, but she is, I believe, a 3-state fiddle champion, and she has performed professionally since she was quite young. So they have to be. We have one Music Roots concert every year, and that is all the kids. And it's a great concert, but in order to perform in our regular concerts, they have to audition and they have to be at a level to be recorded. They have to be professional. So, yes?
Well, now you got me curious about the crossover between the crafts and the music. Do you have any people who are like luthiers or making other instruments?
I do have several people right now who they've gone off on this track of cigar box banjos and weird guitars, and so they're making interesting instruments. And we have in Mountain View, we have Mountain View Music, and they make top-of-the-line banjos and other instruments. And then we also have the mixed band and dulcimer. And so that's the dulcimer shop is right on the corner as you turn into the Folk Center. So other than the creativity that's going on in the park right now, we don't have anybody in the park making instruments. And I should, you know, what they're making it plays beautifully. So yes. And as far as crossover between the music and the crafts, there is a lot of it. So I keep talking about Judy Munn. She went on to learn banjo, and she's a very talented banjo player as well as a potter. So her husband, John Perry, is an incredible violinist who also plays fiddle occasionally. So, and then we have a lot of other people, the Glover family, and Tracy Glover, who's our chandler. Her husband is the radio producer for Ozark Highlands Radio, and their family is just a band that has the most incredible harmony. So, so there is a lot of crossover between music and crafts, and it is very much a community and a family connection throughout the park. So our Terry Andrews came to my attention because his wife Laura is our gift shop manager. So, so it's family, it's community, and it's a lot of people working together and loving what they do. And we'd love to have you all come visit us. Yes?
Is there a quilt shop?
Yes, there is a quilt shop.
Should be.
Yes, there is. Oh, how could I forget the quilt shop? There's a quilt shop, and they do, again, like so many of our crafts, they do the old-timey. They have a frame set up, and they do hand quilting, but they also do the modern. I mean, they're working on making their living at this, so while our two quilters they're just devoted to doing hand and teaching hand quilting. But they do a lot of machine quilting too, just to kind of keep up and keep the shop stocked. So when you go into the park, they will most likely talk to you about hand quilting unless you ask them about something else, because it's what they love. So, okay, you guys are coming up with good questions. Anything else? Okay, well, feel free if you want to come up and pet or play with anything up here and ask any more questions, you're welcome to. And thank you all for coming. Thank you.